Hi everybody, welcome back to Arma 3. I'm recording this video on the 18th of June 2025, which is a day after one of the most important updates in Arma 3's lifetime has just happened. And that has been adding the Arma Reforger Enfusion version of multi-threading to the old Real Virtuality Engine. And you're probably scratching and thinking, well, what does that mean, Rob? Well, basically it means it runs way better and smoother than it did before. So Arma 3 is over 10 years old now, and it keeps getting updates. There's a small team, a handful of people who are still working on the game at Behemoth Interactive, but luckily there are plenty of other people who are working on C DLCs and updating the C DLCs outside of Behemoth Interactive that then get sucked in, that has given us such wonderful things as the Prairie Vietnam DLC and the World War II Operation Spearpoint, I've probably got that wrong, DLC as well. But one of the big bugbears of Arma 3, and if you've ever played Arma 3 you'll know this unless you had a beast of a PC, was that for an old game it didn't run very well a lot of the time, especially as you added lots of mods to it. And this, I know for me, this was really frustrating. Because remember, I got my gaming PC and I was like, right, here we go, load up Arma 3, put a load of mods on, play Prairie Fire. Oh, wait a minute, why is it chugging along at 28 frames per second? And less than that as well. This can't be right. This game's really old. It should be running really smoothly. So they've sorted that out with this update, and they've added some other things as well. So what you're seeing in the background, this is what I was saying about the foreground for you guys, is gameplay from the Vietnam DLC. It's for Prairie Fire, and it's the kind of the showcase platform that you can spawn into, and then I've added some AI as well to follow me around, and then we're going to fly around in a helicopter, then go through the jungle for a little bit as well, because obviously when you've got more frames, especially when you've got smoothness as well, I think sometimes we don't understand how important it is the smoothness of the frames, and the getting rid of hitching and pauses and stuff increases immersion massively, often more than pure frames per second does, because you can have a really high frames per second zooming along, but if it keeps kind of stuttering and slowing down, that really pulls you out of the situation, I think, because I think our brains can kind of get used to a low frames per second, and you're enjoying the game and you're like, yeah, I'm there, then all of a sudden there's a stutter or something and it kind of pulls you out a bit, and this game is now much more smoother. So in the description below this video, what you'll find is I'll put the links to, there's a couple of different kind of patch notes, blog notes as well, where they talk about the stuff, because it's not just the performance update they've done as well. They have done some other stuff that may well be of interest to you if you're really into Arma 3, especially modding and things like that. So they've added stub wing variants for the AH-99 and UH-80 helicopters. We've now got illumination flares, which were in Operation, the World War II sealed DLC. They definitely had them in that. In fact, they got them in Prairie Fire as well, but I guess they've added them into the base game now. Maybe they've even taken them from those people. There's integrated Steam game recording for time trials, firing drills, and Arma Invaders. I think what that is, you can do it so that the Steam game recording will automatically trigger. There's lots of tweaks and changes as well that way. But what I thought we would do is, obviously I'll leave the gameplay running in the background that you can kind of see, and it's running on my Lenovo Legion T5 pre-built PLC that's running a RTX 3070 graphics card, 16 megabytes of RAM on the normal computer. I couldn't tell you what CPU it is, but it's about 4 years old now, 5 years old I think, and it's the smoothness is the thing that I immediately noticed, especially running around in Prairie Fire, which when you get into the jungle sometimes would chug quite a lot as well. So what I thought we'd do, we'll read a bit of the sitrep, the blog, the patch notes about the performance update, and of course I won't read all of it, I'll read a chunk of it and then you can dive into it and have a look at it yourself as well. So this is an analysis of recent multi-threading improvements for a smoother game engine. So the sitrep is, welcome to this technical deep dive into Arma 3's performance optimizations in update 2.20. Before handing you over to the blog's actual author, I wanted to share a few words on the state of live ops. Yes, reception is now a thing. Some 12 years since its initial release, we still find ourselves releasing free platform updates to the game. This is something we can hardly believe ourselves, and we think you'll agree that it's a splendid situation. Thanks to the continued support from the games community and Bohemia Interactive's leadership, we're still in a position to offer some limited live ops development. The hands-on team can be counted on one hand now, but we should not forget it takes a bigger support network to keep things flowing smoothly. Publishing, quality assurance, localization, legal, IT, and more teams and individuals have a hand in getting these updates out. Meanwhile, some of our longer-term plans, as outlined in older sit-reps, are still on our list. Their rollout has been slower than anticipated, but that's in part due to it just not being necessary to switch to the next phase of Arma 3's lifecycle. Even now that we're steadily travelling the road towards Arma 4, there is still plenty of life left in our pinnacle Real Virtuality title. So that's the engine that runs Arma 3. And I think it really points to the fact that I cannot see a situation where Arma 3 becomes depreciated in the next 10 years, because there's just simply so much content out there for it and so many opportunities for money as well for people to buy Arma 3 and to buy all the DLCs and the C DLCs and to enjoy them. And as PCs get more and more powerful, you can enjoy them even more because you can turn up the graphics and obviously as modders comes along. Now, obviously when we get Arma 4, and that'll be running on the new Arma Reforger Enfusion engine, we're going to see what tools are in place that allow people to bring mods and maps and that sort of thing across. And if they make that really easy at Bohemia Interactive, let's say they can take the Cam Long Now map from Prairie and use a tool simply to import it into Arma 4, then wow, I mean, that would be absolutely amazing, wouldn't we? But we'll have to see. I don't think it's going to be as easy as that. But if it isn't, it doesn't matter, because we'll still have Arma 3 to play with. Those of you who are on our Discord server have been following along with the optimizations now released to main branch in 2.20. You may have already enjoyed programmer Dedmen's incredible monologues on specific issues, solutions, fixes, and a myriad of other Real Virtuality topics. You may also have wondered why these optimizations only arrive now. There are many reasons for that, some of which Dedmen will outline below. It's hard to compare the prime-time development circumstances a decade ago to how things are now. There are effectively no hard deadlines for Arma 3 anymore, so there is ample time to investigate and experiment. There also aren't hundreds of commits from tens of people every day, with a constant stream of new features arriving and bugs being squashed. We are building upon the work of legends, going all the way back to the first lines of code for Real Virtuality by André Spaniel. Nonetheless, I want to give massive kudos to the incredible work by a talented Dedmen. He has accomplished low-level and risky changes that I would have never anticipated at this stage. They will not magically give everyone the same performance boost across the board, but don't just stare blindly at the numbers. Play the game. Most everyone who's tried the update has said the game feels smoother. Thank you for the passionate hard work, Dedmen, and a big thanks to everybody who has helped us test these changes via the profiling branch as well. Your feedback has been very important in testing under real world conditions. Enough from me, let's finally get to the meat of this operations report, and that was by Joris Jan van Lant, who's the project lead for Arma 3. So I'll just read a bit of this bit from Dedmen, which is the continuation of this. So he says, first of all, we did not add multi-threading in update 2.20. The Real Virtuality Engine has had multi-threading since Arma 2, but we did overhaul all of our multi-threading code and made some optimizations that are further detailed below. The main focus of our optimization was to fix lag spikes and raise the minimum frames per second. Maximum FPS may not actually be noticeably higher, and in some cases, above 100 FPS, may even be slightly lower than before, but the gameplay should feel significantly smoother. This is also visible in these graphs recorded using CapFrameX on the excellent Yet Another Arma benchmark by Sams. The frame time should feel more consistent with fewer spikes. And again, the links to these articles are in the description below this video. But what you can see in these graphs, these charts, is the fact that you've got quicker consecutive frame values, so there's less of a delay between frames on average, which means leads to smoother gameplay. And although the higher frame per second hasn't changed that much, the average frames per second and the lowest frame per second has gone up that way. And as Dedmen says, is you've got to play it, haven't you? You've got to play it, because that's the really difficult thing with smoothness, because it depends on how many mods you're running a lot of the time and what game mode you're playing, as to the load that goes into your CPU and your graphics unit as well, that affects that smoothness. And so you can't really rely on other people's tests. There is an important thing in there as well. He says make sure that this might be a good time to go back and check things like if you use command line parameters to try and increase performance, because they might not be working the same way that they did before, and they might be affecting it. And also, this is probably a good time to go back and just look at your general graphics and display settings as well, and revisit them and do some real world testing on stuff like that. I'd imagine what we'll see over the next few weeks and few months is people coming out with new how to make Arma 3 run better videos, which I'm looking forward to as well, because it can be a little bit complicated. So there we go. I'll leave you with the gameplay so you can just kind of check that out as I'm flying around Vietnam in Prairie Fire. Well done to the Arma 3 team. Fantastic. This game is still getting updates to this day. And I tell you, there is... What's really cool about this is that they're bringing in the developments from the Arma Reforger Enfusion engine into the Real Virtuality Engine. And we've seen this in DayZ as well, where they're bringing in developments and improvements, say for the vehicles, from the Arma Reforger Enfusion engine to the DayZ Enfusion engine. So it means that there must be some really good tools, or really good people, that Bohemia Interactive have got, who are able to move these changes over, which is very, very exciting for the longevity of all of these platforms, because presumably if you can go one way, you can go the other as well. Anyway, I'll leave that with you. So thank you very much, and if you found this video useful, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe, and of course I'll see you again soon.
Move 75 meters. Copy.